Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is March 20th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. We got the jet stream pointed at the Pacific Northwest, going to be clipping northern portions of California at times, and then we are going to start our warm-up here across much of the Southwest. It's going to move up much of the West Coast. Also, we'll take a look at those details. Also, in the extended forecast, we've got some deep troughing, and it continues to show through the extended forecast. Will be impacting a lot of the state of California. We'll take a look at the latest on that. Now, here's the frontal system that came through, and if I back this up, you can kind of see how that frontal system was rolling through as we went through the day yesterday into the overnight hours, early morning hours, and there's still a little bit of precipitation there up north. But yeah, that frontal system was falling apart by the time it reached the Bay Area for the most part. No precipitation for Southern California out of that one. And we can see the 24-hour lightning strike totals. There looks like a couple strikes there across Northern California and a couple off the coastline there. Not much else to speak of. Now, looking at apparent temperature, I'm going to update that, and you can see you subtract 7 from that, you get 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, or I think it's daylight time. I can't remember which. Somebody correct me. But this is what we're looking at right now. You can see some 40s and 50s out there. Of course, a bit warmer across some of the desert areas, Southern California, across the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada. It is a bit chillier there as well. So, yeah, that is the apparent temperature as we are dealing with right now. And we are almost upon the vernal equinox here. And that is when we are exactly halfway between winter and summer. And then we get 12 hours of daylight and sunlight here. And you can see the vernal equinox is March 20th through 21st here. So we're going to continue to have more daylight here across the northern hemisphere as we go on to about June 20th, 22nd. And then we slowly start to eat away at that. And then we have less daylight hours, of course. And then that kind of gets less. And we go to another 12-hour day and night on September 22nd, 23rd, and then we go all the way on until winter when we have the least amount of sunshine here across the northern hemisphere. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Lightning detection system is with it. Stores all the data for you in the cloud. Highly recommended. Helps support the channel. Thank you for everybody who's bought one of those here recently. I have 2 of them here at my house that I test all the time. Now, taking a look at this, more rainfall through Saturday. You see, definitely like Crescent City and Klamath up here, we're dealing with more precipitation Thursday through Saturday. But the amounts drop off rapidly. I mean, look at Point Arena. You're talking about very little rainfall, if any at all. Clear Lake down there in Middletown, Lakeport versus Gasket and Crescent City up there with much more rainfall amounts here. So we're not talking about rain down towards the Bay Area or much of the Sacramento Valley. And we've got hot temperatures coming in. National Weather Service Los Angeles now talking about at moderate risk here. So here we go. We're going to start warming things up across the desert areas as well. And I'll show you some more on that here in a moment. But you can see Phoenix, El Centro, Blythe. We're warming things up as we go through next week. And you can see the records for Phoenix here as well. We might get close to some of that activity as we go on in through early next week. Now, taking a look at the artificial intelligence model. So again, kind of clipping Northern California here, but then this ridge really sets up shop as we go through the weekend. Here's Sunday afternoon, just dominating this ridge axis here, trough very far out over the Pacific Ocean. And we continue to have this ridge in warm conditions as we go through next week. Then we've got another system rolling through the Pacific Northwest. How much of that will flatten this ridge out and cool us down? That is yet to be seen. We'll continue to watch that. But then as we go through the extended forecast, the models just continue to show this deep trough off the west coast of North America, and that would excuse me, definitely bring some very active weather to much of the state of California. Look at this yin and yang, this massive ridge north of the Hawaiian Islands with a deep trough just carved out. You can imagine the flow around this ridge back down through the trough and back into the southwest flow over the lower 48. But yeah, very dynamic trough continues to show up there. Now, daily 2-meter max temperature. This is for today, I believe. Yes, it is Thursday, March 20th. So then we go through a Friday, Saturday. Look at that warm up coming here as we go through Sunday. Look at Reading up to 79, and you're talking about 80s starting to return, some low 90s, maybe even on Sunday. Monday, look at that. The 80s are starting to show up for the San Joaquin, Sacramento Valley, and even the Bay Area warming up here. I mean, you don't have to go that far inland to get some very warm temperatures. Starting to see some mid 80s across Southern California as well. Tuesday, another very warm day. Wednesday, Thursday, who knows what's to come after that. So kind of take these with a grain of salt the further we get off into the forecast. Now, Artificial intelligence, European, you can see again, Northern California getting clipped at times. The rainfall definitely higher amounts across Northwest California and a lot of the Pacific Northwest versus the rest of the state. Not showing much rainfall for Sacramento or the Bay Area, Southern California as we go through this weekend. And then, of course, the ridge is going to be dominating the weather here as we warm up dramatically as we go through next week. And then we start to dig that trough here, and then we bring another frontal system, Northern California. But as I showed you, if the trough digs far enough down the coastline here, you can see some of this more active weather, potentially even getting down towards Southern California at times. Atmospheric river, looked at things there, powerful frontal system. It is fantasy land for now, but the models have been continuing to show it. So there is a little bit of confidence in that, and we'll just continue to check back to see how that trends over the next few days. Total snow 10-to-1 ratio. Here we go. Not much to speak of except across Northern California, maybe an inch or two there for some of the northern Sierra Nevada. And then we scroll off in through the upcoming period when the ridge is going to be dominating things. Not much snowfall. We start to scroll way out there, and if we get that active trough, you can imagine we're going to start to deal with some more active weather. I mean, look at that. Even wants to throw some decent amounts down across the transverse and the Peninsula Range and huge amounts across the Sierra Nevada. Now, 6 to 10 day. It's above average here, kind of in the northern half of the state. We'll see how that goes. Look at the temperatures, though, all the way through March 29th. 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation. They're starting to pick up on that troughing out there, so you got to like that. The Climate Prediction Center is picking up on that. And there's new seasonal temperature outlooks here. This is March 20th, but look at when these are valid for: April, May, and June. You can see the Southwest above normal, below normal precipitation, kind of highlighted right across some of the Southwest here into Utah, and equal chances for some of the coastal areas there for California. But then we scroll off into summer a bit more. This would be mainly for June. Look at this above normal signal for the West Coast, below normal signal for a lot of the areas here, a little above normal there in New Mexico and Arizona. This is July, again, above, and maybe above. So that's kind of, maybe that's a monsoon signal there. Obviously, as we start to get into July, there's going to be a little bit more active monsoon season. And then we go above normal again for much of August, and there's that monsoon signal there as well. So it's the Climate Prediction Center kind of highlighting the potential active monsoon season here. And at times, of course, this can spread into Las Vegas, some of the desert areas, and even across portions of California at times, and even further north than that. But yeah, that's an above average signal there for the monsoon season as we go through the summer months. Here we go on in towards September. Look at that above average for much of the West. Again, monsoon signal still there, but the season is wrapping down by the time we get to this point. There's October. Equal chances precipitation, but look at this, all the way through November we've got still this above average signal for much of California and the Southwest, and we get it to November and finally equal chances. And also they're picking up on the experimental products, are picking up as we go through the early portion of April for that slight risk of some heavy precipitation. Look at that, slight risk for some of the snowfall all the way down to the Sierra Nevada. So they are noting that there is some confidence in the extended forecast for that active period, and some slight risk for winds as well. But anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Let me know what you think down below. Click like and subscribe. We will do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.